Hey, teens, listen up. This is Beth from the podcast Totes Recall, and the show is about to start in a few seconds, so just cool it, okay? Because I just have to tell you some information before we get started. Here it is. We just launched our online store, which means that if you head to totesrecall.com/merch, you can see right now that you can purchase a Cool It Teens t-shirt, as well as a bunch of other fun stuff. So why don't you head to that website, totesrecall.com/merch, and read what that t-shirt says and cool it. All right, now it's time for the show. Totes Recall.
Welcome to Totes Recall, the podcast where we talk about a movie we can't remember very well and or at all. We then watch that movie, and now we come back after we've watched the movie. Now we've seen the movie for sure, and we talk again, see how the movie has changed, how we've changed, how society has changed, what changes have happened. That's what we talk about. My name is Dan.
This is Molly.
I'm also Dan.
And I'm Beth.
Wow.
Dan, how many years has it been?
How
Not enough.
dare you?
Wow.
Our movie this episode is High Fidelity, and I'm leaving because I'm bad at the podcast now.
No, it's fair because I've not seen High Fidelity, so
Yeah,
I
didn't think
don't
you
get to
deserved
be
it.
introduced on the podcast.
Wow. Is that the rule now?
Yeah. No one gets
It's
to know
tough.
who you are.
It's a tough year we're having, and there's tough rules for tough years. That is true. Beth, you have not seen this movie. I would propose that we continue Rookie of the Year segment. Pepsi Cola and or REI presents 60-second pre-summary betting event.
Okay, yeah.
Name still undecided.
So what is
love it.
happening?
This is where those who have not seen the movie take 60 seconds
Right.
to attempt to summarize it.
I got you. All right. Beth, are you ready?
Yes.
And go.
Okay, John Cusack is in it. I realized this morning that this is not Say Anything, which is also a movie I've never seen. So I thought this was the movie with the boombox, but I think that's Say Anything.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I know there's music involved. I think maybe he works at a record store or a radio station, and probably like has a crush on a girl and tries to woo her through
30
music.
seconds.
And she's like, no, and then he woos her through music, and they fall in love at the end and kiss. There's probably some dumb friends
Okay.
that also work at the record store and or radio station.
10 seconds.
And they also have a B storyline. I really don't know anything about this movie.
Time.
Ah, okay.
That's not bad,
Not bad.
honestly.
Very good.
Not bad.
Okay.
And your summary made me realize that I'm already confusing this movie with another John Cusack movie.
What?
I think. Or it's all the same, but I don't think it is. Because there's a John Cusack movie that also has Joan Cusack, which is like amazing.
That's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't that happen more than once?
It does, but I love it. It's just a great thing. Who's going to argue with Joan Cusack? I'm
Is
not.
it Cusack or Cusack?
I
Oh,
said Cusack.
Cusack.
Cusack. That seems right.
I don't know.
Anyway, they're in it. But in my memory, there's that version, and there's like Minnie Driver, and basically
Gross Point Blank.
Gross
Yes.
Point Blank. You're thinking of
I've
Gross
seen
Point
that
Blank.
one.
Blank.
Yeah, I've
That's
seen
the
that
one
one.
where he's like a killer too. No.
She works at a radio station.
Okay, so this is the one where John Cusack works at a record store
Yep.
and talks pretty fast and has...
That's probably true.
Is this one where he has relationship troubles and they kind of have make-up sex after her dad's funeral?
Wow.
Does that
Yeah.
seem right?
That's a very
Yeah.
specific
Molly's
bet.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
bold.
I agree.
Very specific bet. His
I remember
wife,
this
I think.
movie quite
Yeah.
well. I own this on digital video disc, and I also own
Ooh.
Gross Point Blank on digital video disc. I believe I got both of these.
Package deal?
Longtime Totes head will remember. I did a lot of math at one point in my life and subscribed to the Columbia DVD mail order club because you get 10 discs for 1 penny each, but then you have to say subscribe for like $10 a month. But it comes out to be like an okay price if you cancel as soon as you can. But I think this, along with The Matrix, that's the episode. Check the tapes. I got a DVD because I loved him so much. I loved John Cusack at that point in my life, which is probably like 20. He really spoke to me as like an angsty white dude who thought he was pretty smart and was like seemed nice, but like was like maybe kind of an asshole sometimes.
Yeah,
but didn't think he was.
Yeah, this movie is very much one of those like. It is a movie both of its time, but maybe could easily be made again without the show. In fact, it was made again into a TV show starring somebody,
Zoe
Kravitz.
I did not see the show. My wife did. She said it was pretty good. I don't know if anyone else in the world liked it because I don't know if it's continuing. But I remember also being very charmed in the way that Dan is describing, where not so much charmed as just like, yeah, I can relate with being a disaffected white dude who has opinions.
Yeah.
This movie also introduced me to the manic joy of Jack Black. That might have been true of most of America.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd never seen him before.
I feel like this was like his big break in terms of like not just being in random. I don't know. I think sometimes he'd just show up in other things, but this was, I think, his big introduction to the world as like, hey, there's that funny chubby dude who just like has the energy of a child.
Yeah.
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 What I think I remember really enjoying about this movie is how it captures that dynamic of how I feel when I walk into a comic book store or a record store, where I know immediately that I know about 1% of the people who work there.
Mm-hmm.
And
What do you mean? Like you
just
actually
like,
know them?
No. What? No.
I think she meant she knows 1% as much as they know.
Okay.
As
You
they
don't
know about whatever genre that is.
Okay, I understand.
And so when you walk in and you're like, I just want a record, you're just like basically like a babe in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And they are to be either encouraged or manipulated or dismissed based on the person's whim. And sometimes you have like the grumpy version, and sometimes you have the helpful version. It's like really excited to get you into music. And sometimes it's not so much. And he really, the scene I remember is where he's like, listen, I'm going to sell 3 of these records right now.
The
and
Beta
he plays some, what? The Beta Band?
The Beta Band, yep.
Beta Band.
That is the Beta Band.
Nice.
Great. But yeah, that's one of my distinct memories. But I think for me, it captures that sense of like walking into a space that is not your own, that is so fully habitated by the people who work there and the culture they have as a family that you are only ever an outsider.
Yeah.
And so maybe you get to feel like an insider for a little while during the movie.
I appreciate, if I remember this movie correctly, I appreciate that the movie does not necessarily... I feel like movies like this can sometimes take just like, you know, like any kind of like workplace sort of comedy like that. It can be very much like it's written as if like those people are just like by default the heroes of the story, right? Because it usually is just like, oh, we're stuck at this dumb job, and it's just like a day in the life of the job, and it's always just like anyone who comes inside is an idiot and is dumb, and you should sympathize with, you know, whoever the main characters are. But I feel like this movie does a good job of like showing enough of John Cusack as a human being that like, oh, he's actually kind of a damaged dude, and like he's not like, they're not necessarily like, I don't know. I appreciate that it like points out like, oh, they're kind of just being assholes to their customers for no good reason, just because like, yeah, it's that same thing where they just know too much about this one thing, so it's like taking over their identity.
Oh yeah. And like that moment where, you know, you get his side of the story for the breakup, and then you get the rest of it, and you're like, wow, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You are definitely not the hero in this story.
Wait, so they break up? There's a breakup at the beginning?
Yeah.
He and his wife are having troubles, right?
His wife.
Are they married?
They're not. I think that's the conflict. They're in kind of a shit or get off the pot moment.
Oh,
and
he's like
Oh,
in
that's the
Arrested
fidelity
Development
part.
mode.
Yeah, and he
I get it.
gets off the pot. If I know how that metaphor tracks.
Uh-huh.
And then so the structure of the movie is like long-term girlfriend, they break up, and then he's like really reevaluating himself, how he operates in relationships, and goes back through his top 5 breakups. There's a lot of top 5s in this movie. That's like
Yep.
the gimmick of it. There's a lot of talking
Yeah.
to the camera. And then that leads him, I won't spoil the end. What happens? Does he get back together? Molly said they have makeup
Ooh.
sex. What does that mean?
Right.
Well, you can have makeup sex and still break up again.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
saying it's
That's
not
a fact.
for sure. So yeah, that's the kind of the structure of it. It's really him just being an angsty dude.
Yeah, this is a Nick Hornby novel adapted
That's
into a
true.
film. Nick Hornby, the perhaps like 2000s, early 2000s royalty of like quirky angsty dude stories.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but this takes place in Chicago.
Hey, Chicago.
Chicago.
I read the novel.
Chicago.
I think the original novel takes place in London
Town.
Oh,
All right.
All right. I'm listening to this band that was probably relevant to late 90s, early 2000s London culture.
London Town, we love the Beatles, don't we?
What's that? London calling?
Oh,
that's
Hello.
Clash
Thank you.
Town.
It's me, the Clash.
Now we're
but
back
yeah,
in Chicago, the
it's
blues.
in Chicago.
And Wilco, everybody loves Wilco. Although
Hey.
movie might be pre-Wilco.
Is anything pre
Oh, what year did it come out?
Ooh, great question.
Great Q.
Ooh, Cusack.
Wow.
Great Cusack.
Is it a 90s movie? I don't even know.
I want to say 90. I'm going to say 99.
I'm going to say,
Let's say 97.
2000.
2004.
Ooh,
Wow.
That is a
spicy.
range.
A spicy
So
bet.
Spicy. Was that Molly said 2004?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you said
Initially.
spicy bet, not bet.
Initially,
No, I wrote it down.
he wrote it down. It's in his top 4 year bets for the podcast.
Jaquette's bet, he wears a silk shirt that is
Ooh.
not going to hold up to 2021 style eyes.
Okay. The style doesn't hold up.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like offensive.
No, it's just be like, "Oof, not a good shirt, bro.
Yeah, the Chicago style manual.
Right.
Yeah, that's Chicago silk.
Who plays his love interest?
I don't remember.
I don't know, but I think she's
Was she in some kind of wonderful?
Scandinavian.
Whoa.
Oh, never
Ooh,
mind.
Dan's bet. We will recognize all of John Cusack's former loves,
Wow.
different degrees of fame.
Yeah,
Oh.
one might be,
But I bet by
Oh, no.
now, I think we always
I only want to
recognize
call her
all of them.
Laser Butts.
What?
What?
What's her name?
What?
I want
Yeah.
to understand what this means.
Yes, you are correct. One of them is Laser Butts.
Laser Butts.
Yeah.
There's a
How do you
movie that
both
I
know what
refer
that
to as
means?
Laser Butts, but I believe it's called Entrapment and has Sean Connery and
Laser butts.
Come on,
Laser
you
Butts.
can do it.
Michael Martin.
Are we?
Michael
what are we-
Douglas's wife.
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Hey,
That's the one.
There you go,
Wow.
Wow.
buddy. Teamwork.
Teamwork, patriarchy. Sorry,
Ooh.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. I believe she is Charlie, the most painful breakup of his
Okay, so
life.
sorry. You called Catherine Zeta-Jones laser butts?
Yeah. You're obviously not a dude who has seen Entrapment.
I haven't
Not
seen
saying dude,
Entrapment. I
someone
just
attracted to women who has seen Entrapment. She slides under a laser, a fake laser, I think. I think it's a yarn.
what?
She slides under
I've
yarn
never seen this movie.
representing-
I've only heard you talk about this before. That's the only reason I knew who you were talking about.
He only knows it because you know it.
Wow.
Dan.
Yeah. Hey, all men are creeps to a degree. Here
It's a
is
DVD's
me
moment. I mean, it's a
flying my creep
DVD's
flag.
moment. It's definitely a
This is a
DVD's
very-
moment. Yeah.
Okay, so she goes through a bunch of lasers and
She
stuff.
slides under a
and
laser.
she's wearing
and
like
the way,
a tight black.
Yeah. You know
Okay,
how
yeah.
movies work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How movies work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
it's
is
not
it that her
me.
butt triggers the laser? Because
No,
it
she's
doesn't.
so good at it that she actually
can
manages
move
to
her
like
butt.
move her butt.
then
with
why
such
is
Because the butt goes under the
because
laser.
the entirety of the shot. Because the entirety of the shot that they chose to put into the film is just her butt and lasers. That's the whole frame.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
It's upsetting, but I get it.
Yeah, it is upsetting.
Yeah.
You should be upset about it.
That's the
Yeah.
patriarchy of filmmaking.
Exactly.
It's not my fault. It's Phil's
Yes.
fault.
Don't
Dan.
blame Dan. Don't blame Bus for
blaming both of you, Dan?
why. We're just
I won't encourage any
acknowledging
of
a cinematic shot that was chosen probably by a male director.
Yeah.
Definitely
Also-
by a male director.
Also, I
that we
can't
just decided
let-
to perpetuate.
Yeah, I can't let Michael Douglas by without bringing up that
Go ahead.
he blamed his throat cancer
Yeah.
on going down on Catherine Zeta-Jones too much.
What?
Yeah, that is a real thing.
It's a real thing. Look it up.
It's the wildest Hollywood fact there is.
This has been Wild Hollywood Facts with Dan Jaquette.
Anyway, this is the movie High Fidelity.
Yep. It features
I
Catherine
have-
Zeta-Jones, respected actor who is more than just her posterior.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll say she crushes.
I will also double down that she crushes in this movie as the coolest person that he's ever dated, and that's why it's so devastating.
Yeah.
Do we think it'll pass the Bechdel Wallace? I think it might because I think doesn't Joan Cusack play either John Cusack's sister or his best friend?
Isn't that Gross Point Blank, though?
Is it?
In Gross
Joan-
Point Blank, she is the secretary, I believe.
Accurate.
But I think in High Fidelity, he gets called out, right? Because he leaves out all these details and then to his best friend, she takes his side. And then she comes back later having heard his ex-girlfriend's side and is super mad at him. And I always thought that was Joan Cusack.
It probably is.
I think it is, but that's still. So where is Joan
What?
Cusack talking to another woman in that?
Well,
Rundown.
that'll be the interesting thing is does it ever actually show them talking or does it show her talking about them talking?
Well, and it
I
sounds
bet
like
so.
even if they were shown talking, they're just talking about John.
I'm still just out of hope. I'm going to say it passes.
I
and
bet
probably just barely.
that in one of the instances, there's a woman that he talks to while he's dating another woman, and then it turns out that she's one of the next girlfriends. Does that make sense? When I'm
Yes.
That's
betting?
fun.
Okay, but I don't think they talk. I don't think they talk to each other about not him.
Oh, so it still doesn't pass.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I do bet that they interact. There's a timeline kind of overlap between some girlfriends.
Got it.
That's a fun bet. I like
It's a
it.
fun bet.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Jaquette's bet. This movie is the first time I knew that Blonde on Blonde was a Bob Dylan album.
Okay. I still don't know
Okay.
that until just now when you said it. So
Jack Black goes, there's a little scene where he's talking to a patron and he goes, I can't believe you don't own Blonde on Blonde. It's going to be okay.
great.
He's basically educating this guy in music and also kind of scamming him into buying too much.
Yeah, using those negs.
Yeah.
Like when, I had a friend who was a waitress who would really purposely come around and say, "Hey, can you handle another shot?"
Yeah.
It's a sales technique that I don't approve of.
Yeah. This movie
That's a
maybe
pretty
also...
minute bet, Dan.
Oh,
It's
I'm
really
sorry.
getting in
Okay.
the weeds.
Let's end the show then. What should we rate this movie, Molly? We're done digging bets.
Wow.
Wait, can I bet one last thing?
Yes, I support making bets in the first half
Okay.
of the show.
I bet it has a good soundtrack, right?
Yes.
It has to have a good
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I love it. Who do you think's on it? Can you guess one of the artists?
What depends on the year, right? Okay, so if it's a 90s, 99, Santana.
Ooh, I love it.
Featuring Rob Thomas?
If Smooth is on this soundtrack, I'm going to lose my mind. It'll be so delightful just because it'll be just there.
As soon as that guitar riff comes in.
Oh
I
yeah.
will give it a standing ovation and five whatever we decide the rating scale.
Nice. Ooh, yeah. This because I feel like part of this movie was like one of those things where it's just like, hey, check out these bands you maybe haven't heard of
Yeah.
because this is a record store movie.
Yeah, I think Belle and Sebastian is in this.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Beta Band, we've already said.
Mm-hmm.
Kinky Wizards is the name of the band in the movie, but I don't think
Is
it's
that the
a
one
real
Jack
band.
Black is in? So
no,
is,
he's in Catherine Turner. They're on the verge of being called Catherine Turner Overdrive,
Mm-hmm.
but something.
Good, great, very minute bet.
So this is pre Tenacious D.
No, I think this
This is
is.
probably post.
I think this is
Okay.
all. I mean, Tenacious D is forever. Right? I feel like he was doing that in L.A. with the guy with Kyle Gass for like a way before he really got into big
Yeah.
movies.
And then he was on Mr.
Ah.
Show.
right? They were on Mr.
obviously.
Show, weren't they? I feel like
Fuji on there?
I feel like at one point they did perform a song or
Probably.
helped perform a song in
Oh.
a sketch
Maybe.
on
Yeah.
there.
I don't remember.
Timmy Robbs shows up in this movie because they all know each other.
Yeah.
Because I think Jack Black and Kyle were part of his like weird actors crew thingy that John Cusack might have also been a part of.
Tim Robbins.
Yeah, he's in a great. He's only in one scene and it's delightful.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dan's bet, delightful Timmy Robbs cameo.
Yeah.
The song "I'm Walking on Sunshine" is in this movie.
Oh, cool.
Unless I'm thinking of a different overly positive song that John Cusack gets annoyed by.
Oh, okay. I was like, that seems very out of place for what we've already named.
Yeah. But there's a very delightful scene where Jack Black dances, and I think that's the song that he dances to.
Oh,
I'm
there's
looking forward to
a Peter Frampton cover in the movie by the singer who is played by someone from the Cosby Show.
Well, this
there's
is
my
White
bet.
Hot.
Is that broad enough for you, Molly?
So White Hot bet.
Yeah, burning my hands on this bet.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I think we should rate these movies based on what we think we'll rate it at the end, based on angsty Q sex.
What?
Okay.
What?
Okay.
I'm
Is
guessing
a
these are.
Cusack?
I'm
I
guessing
need
these
to
are
know.
sacks. These are sacks of some kind. Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess the name was just they contain cues, but
Yeah.
that could just be like a certain type of sack. I don't know.
All right. I don't.
A
I'm
sack
gonna
of
be in
Q's.
trouble for
Like the letter Q,
Oh, like on Sesame Street?
or like a line of people.
yeah.
Whoa.
Well, what did your instinct tell you it was, Beth?
The letter Q.
Then it's Q's.
All right.
Just like, but not like in a political sense. Not like, you know what? Let's go with Q's like you're in line.
It can be the
Or
letter
Q's
Q. It can be like the
you
cute
forgot
little.
your Q.
Can be like the cute little plush letters on Sesame Street.
Oh,
That's
Okay,
the
all right.
best.
Sesame Street Q's
Uh-huh.
okay.
in a sack, and they're angsty. Well, the sack is angsty. The Q's are
Oh, the
happy.
sack is angsty. So we're going like
Yeah.
full Muppet on this. Like the sack
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
has a personality. The cues are have their own
Yeah.
personalities.
It's like the sack wouldn't normally be angsty, but they're just
It's full of
like not
Q's.
sure if carrying around Q's is
Yeah.
like what they should be doing, and
I mean,
so
they
they're
got that
reevaluating.
1 point, right?
Yeah, listen, I almost made this angsty ringsty, and I decided on
Oh.
angsty Q sex.
Wow. I love it. Dan, you seem very confused.
Well, I feel like I got in so much trouble for talking about laser butts, and now Molly has introduced all this sack talk, and it just doesn't seem fair that she's not getting attacked.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, life isn't fair.
That's
Yeah.
good. Hey, I'm a bit of an angsty Cusack right now.
Yeah, you really are. Top 5 times where Molly didn't get shit on when I got shit on. Go.
Oof, gosh.
It's too many to list.
We
am I
need
right?
another podcast. Dan, how many of these sacks are you going to rate this movie, High Fidelity?
I remember really enjoying this movie. I feel like the last time I watched it was probably in my sometime in my 20s. So I was still like primed for just like an angsty dude talking about how hard it is to be a dude, but also like being cool and listening to stuff to have a personality. I'm hoping that is not just the nature of like the time I watched it, and it actually holds up as a good movie. Because I feel like the movie follows a track where you're not just like, where sometimes we watch these movies, it's just like, oh, this guy is actually just an asshole. But in like the year that it came out, that was an acceptable form of dude. I feel like this movie threads that line well enough where it like points out that he's an asshole, but also like actually like sits in it a little bit rather than just advocating for it. So I'm gonna give it a hopeful quad sack situation.
Ooh.
4 sacks. Get your mind out of the gutter, Dan.
These are Sesame Street Muppet characters.
These are Muppet sacks. They are
There
fuzzy. They have.
Fuzzy, brown,
Shut it down.
They're hanging by strings.
just flapping around.
Just
Oh, stop it.
Gobbling
You
up
get your
cues.
mind out.
What?
Just
Get your
spilling
mind out. Look,
cues
there are
all over the
lunch
place.
sacks. There
What?
are all kinds of sacks.
These are sacks full of cues.
Sacks full of cues.
How many
I know there's
cues
all
can you
kinds
put in a
of
lunch sack? How
I mean,
big are
it
these
doesn't make the
cues?
cues,
We don't know
yeah.
how big the cues are.
We don't know.
4 perfectly innocent sacks full of cues. But they're angsty about it.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not so
Love it.
innocent. Hmm.
Hey, yes, they are. You hush.
We don't know. Maybe they screwed over some girl, like certain cue sacks might have.
The sack might have, but not the cues.
That's what I'm saying. I thought the sack was one that was angsty.
Oh, it is.
But the cues are innocent. Listen,
Absolutely.
the official stance of this podcast is that the cues are innocent.
No,
Oh no.
no.
Ay.
This is terrible.
Listen,
This is-
Dan and I, clearly, Dan and I are both, our mission is to make Molly regret this rating scale as much as possible on as many layers as possible. Anyway,
Beth,
4.
it's your turn
Succeeding.
to rate the movie that you've
Yeah.
never seen.
Everything that's been described to me sounds delightful.
Oh wow.
Sounds like a movie that I would enjoy, but I can tell already it's not going to be perfect. So I'm going to say 4.
Mm.
A hopeful 4.
I love
Okay.
it.
Great. Whew. I'm really wrestling with how much to sack up on this rating
Oh God,
because
this
When-
is the worst thing that's ever happened.
it's not my scale. Just trying to
It's your interpretation. You have to own that.
because when I watched it, this would have been a 5-sack movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely
Any-
at least 5 sacks in the movie. No question.
But I'm worried now, like both the time it is now and where I am in my journey of emotional maturity, I won't have the patience for this guy anymore.
Mm.
In part because I don't have the patience for the guy I was 15
Right.
years ago.
Wow.
So I guess I'm going to say 2
Wow.
and hope that it's better than that. But I'm going to say 2.
Wow. That is really hedging against disappointment.
Yeah.
Where do you think you learned that from?
Who can say?
Who can say?
Molly.
You know what? I'm going to go with 4 angsty Cusacks.
Wow.
And the reason is I want to go in hopeful. So that is the reason I'm going so high. I'm going to be interested to see whether I'm actually rooting for this couple to get back together or not.
Ooh, great
Oh,
point.
yeah.
My gut tells me I'm going to be like, you'd be better off without this dude. But who knows? Anything can happen. And I have not seen this movie since I saw it in theaters when it first came out. So that's always a really delightful thing to see something and have all that kind of nostalgia. And who knows, maybe some of my mid-20s stuff will come up. In which,
We can
I don't know if
dream.
that would affect the rating, but it might.
Do you think you were on a date and or in the Soviet Union when you saw this movie? In theaters?
Sadly, date maybe.
Oh,
Possible. You know what? When I find out what year it was, I'll be able to narrow it down.
Nice.
So look forward to that in the second half,
Oh, I
listeners.
already am.
Molly, let's go to American music movie.
Very good music film, John Cusack.
Oh, y'all. And with that, we're going to press pause, go watch High Fidelity, and we'll be right back.
Hi, listeners. It's me, Dan, your mid-roll captain, here to tell you that Respect Listener Opinions Month is coming up in just 2 short months.
Whoa.
Strap on your respect shoes and prepare to be respected, because as is tradition in our May episode will be chosen by you, the listeners. It's a very special time of year where we choose to respect you fully. But what that means is right now we need you to nominate movies you would like us to watch for the May episode. We will be taking nominations now, as you're hearing this, through the end of March. So if you're listening to this late, too bad. And you can tweet at us, social media at us, anywhere with the hashtag Totes Respect with any movie you would like to be put into the running. And then starting on April 2nd, so that we normally do April 1st, but we don't want anybody to think we're joking. So we do April 2nd. We will have a poll up that you can vote on the movies that were nominated that we think would make good episodes or that we haven't already done, because some people sometimes nominate movies we've already done. Do your homework before you nominate. And then you'll vote, and the winner will be watched by us for our May episode. And everyone will feel respected.
But
most of all,
especially-
the people who picked the movie that we ended up watching.
Yeah.
And
So
I
that
will
is it.
say, if you're like, well, this is disrespectful, I don't have any social media accounts, you can email us at hello@totesrecall.com, and we will also get the nominations there.
Or you can leave us a voicemail at 612-8A9-PUTADOO.
Okay, that wasn't even the right
PUT.
fake.
I think that's even wrong for the wrong version. It's 612-A089 PUT-A-DOO, and then erase the last 4 digits you typed, remembering that you typed 2 T's. You can absolutely leave us a message there. My Totes promise to you is if you do email it up, I will reply with the link for the poll when it's up.
Ooh, nice.
I'd also like to remind everyone, true Totes heads will remember that any spelling of the word respect will be accepted.
Yes.
If you just happen to just switch a few letters around on accident, we'll get what you're saying. We'll pick up what you're putting down.
I misspelled respect a couple years ago and got dragged mercilessly, so now we can do it any way you please.
Listen, Totes Respect was my favorite event of that year.
So, tweet at us now, vote on April 2nd, and listen in May.
And we're back. We just watched 1 hour and 54 minutes of a surprising amount of toxic masculinity, some excellent music, and not a lot of romance.
Well,
That's my intro.
I think you nailed it.
that's the intro to the second half, as is tradition. And our second tradition is an award-winning one that people
Which
have been
word is
talking
that
about.
again? We just have to.
The babies.
It's the Guinness
and
Award.
They won all that as well, and
they won
it is
the top 5.
yep,
Yeah.
3 times winning. 60-second
3 years running.
Yep, for the last 2 years, and it's 60-second summary, and we do it, and I will volunteer, but didn't I just do it?
I think you did.
So
Did you?
not me. Beth should do it.
I like the before and after.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, that's
okay.
great.
Okay.
Oh, right. You did the original one. Okay. Ready,
Yeah.
Beth?
Yes.
And go.
Film starts with a man breaking up with having had just broken up with a girlfriend. And we find out that he likes music and he owns a record store, and he's got two friends who work in the record store. Both of them are different from each other. One is very loud and outgoing, and one is very shy and quiet. Then he goes through a list of his top 5. Well, this is out of order, but he goes through a list of his top 5
30 seconds.
worst breakups, and then you see a bunch of stuff. Then his girlfriend's dad dies. And they get back together, and it's all great. And that's the movie.
Is it? Jesus, you have 12 seconds left.
I'm so bad at this.
4, 3, 2,
There's CDs.
1.
There's CDs. Great. And that is the
Always
summary.
award-winning.
Yep.
That's a great
Segment.
summary. I think we might add to that during all of this, John Cusack's character has some kind of character development, but not as much as you wish he did.
Yep.
I feel
would
like
like
I
to add
didn't
that.
include that in the summary because I feel like he has maybe character development in the last 1 minute of the movie.
Fair.
He's like,
fair.
now I get it.
Kind of. Like, I'm starting to get it. It promises less than that, which I guess I do respect. That they're like, he's like, I'm starting to get how first of all, women are human beings. Not that he uses those words, but it's pretty clear it has not occurred to him in any real sense in a long time. At some
Yeah.
point, I forgot to add to Hot Topics, Dan, whether or not.
This is behind the
Start the
scenes.
recording over. They're going to know our secrets, Molly.
Leave this in.
Is it actually shocking that women own regular cotton underpants?
I don't think he was saying it was
Do you-
shocking.
Should we? Okay, now I don't know if we're supposed to talk about this now because you've brought it up on the recording, or if I just
Right.
put it down in my notes for us to come back to later. Both seem insane,
This is chaos. This is complete chaos.
but I feel like we should address it now. You can't, as this is Chekhov's cotton underwear here, which I guess means we do get to it later.
Right. That is. I mean, it means we've
Teaser.
acknowledged it, and then we take care of it later.
Teaser underwear talks coming, you teens. Before we get too much into underwear talk, let's compare pre and post game summary
Oh, right.
from Beth.
My first one was much better.
First one, much cleaner
Yeah.
summary.
Maybe
Well-
cleaner is the right word for it.
Yeah,
We'll
but
see.
We'll see. There was music. Yes, nailed it.
Yep.
John Cusack owned a radio station or a record store. Nailed it.
Yes.
He has a crush.
Sure.
Sort of.
Sort
I
of.
mean,
Sure.
yeah.
Partial
Multiple.
credit. He woos her through music.
True, 100%.
No.
I mean, kind of, but that's not what the movie is about.
It's not what the movie's about, but that is his MO
Sure.
over and over again.
But he's not wooing the
Present
primary
day.
love interest through music.
At the end, he is.
That's true.
At the end, he's still trying to woo through music.
Well,
Well-
he's trying to express himself through music, not woo.
Yeah.
He's
I
got
would say
some
he
wooing to
woos
do.
through
he does have
actually
wooing to
doing
do.
something with his life.
Right.
Okay,
Being
but
a little
he's
more okay with
also
himself.
expressing it to the movie-watching audience by making her a mixtape that
Okay.
of music she will enjoy versus music that he's trying to send a message to.
Partial
But either
credit.
way, Beth gets 100% credit.
I am the podcast judge.
All
I
right.
think this has been established.
Yeah, we have established this.
There's
Watch
points
yourself,
that matter
counselor.
that everyone's keeping track of.
Yep.
He has success. Yes.
He has what?
Success in wooing.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I
This
feel
movie
like
ends on a positive outcome.
yeah, but we're already in disagreement about whether he's wooing present day through music, if that's what we're talking about.
Oh. Well,
So
I mean,
Now
that's how
I'm
the
worried
movie
the
the
segment's
movie
going long.
ends.
he
right?
does have success, I guess.
yeah. They kiss. Probably.
There's kissing.
There's
kiss.
kissing. But there's no
The kiss.
the
It's not like they
kiss.
hadn't kissed before,
end.
Right.
and
Yeah.
that was their first kiss
Right.
kind of moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's dumb friends or coworkers, and they have a B storyline. Crushed on that
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
I'll give you double points How about that?
Ooh, double points.
There
Wow.
was a B and a C storyline.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Both
we
of
will.
them.
And then Molly bet that they would have makeup sex in the rain, and that's also
Yep.
true.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to underwear before it hangs over our head for too long.
It hangs on the thing, as
On
John
the thing.
Cusack so eloquently put it.
Molly, you're curious if men didn't know that women have cotton underwear. Is that true?
I mean, the way it is presented in this movie, yes, that is true. And based not so much on my personal life experience, as much as with this movie, this character seems to take it as such a personal betrayal. And it comes up like 2 or 3 times. And it made me think maybe all this time I've taken for granted that people just know that you have like lots of, in the same way you'd have different footwear, or different types of jackets. You might have different types of underpants. Is that shocking?
Well, I mean, he's not shocked. He's just sort of like, he's no longer embracing the fantasy of it, right? Like he has this whole speech about like the fantasies that he's sort of realized he's been present in all the time, that he's no longer trying to be present in. I don't know if it's shocking so much as like,
Yeah.
The first time he describes it, he sounds like he was shocked, like he was revealing something to the listening audience that they might
Yeah.
not have already known.
well, I mean,
he is. I think he's shocked. He's coming to terms with the realization that he's been living in his head for far too long with sort of
Right.
idealized versions of everything that confine to a very discrete set of rules.
right.
And he's like finally realizing that's not the real world. And the
Oh, you're giving him so much credit. You were talking about the end of the movie character,
No,
and I'm
I
saying at
think
the
the-
beginning.
I think
and
every time
he
he's-
makes it sound like women have been hiding that fact from him, like actively organizing and hiding it from him.
well,
He
'cause
sounds,
he kind of sucks.
He's
Yeah.
a dummy.
yeah.
I
But
think,
that's-
I mean, it has to do with what you were saying, Molly, is that about like realizing that women are humans and not just like a thing to get and to like have.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that cotton underwear, I think represents humanity.
I think when he's talking to the audience, like you're getting, I mean, when you're talking to the audience, you're getting like sort of his, like, it's essentially like a representative of like his thought process, right? So like, yes, in his mind, in his internal view, like it is, I guess, a shocking betrayal because like it is sort of like butting up against this very specific worldview that he's created for himself, right? Like, I mean, half of the movie he's adding caveats to his own monologue, right? So it's like
Right.
whatever he says out loud like isn't necessarily just like a complete, he's not firm in his beliefs on anything. Like that's part of his flaws, right?
Okay, great. You can defend him. That sounds fine.
Okay, this is going to be a rough second half if this is where we're starting from.
Well, we
Sorry,
added
I'm
it to the
just-
hot topics, which now everybody knows we have, and they'll steal
Yeah.
our podcast
Wow.
formula.
Yep, now that's it. Now all of our competitors are going to have just as
Yeah.
successful podcasts as we do.
Trade secrets. No way to edit it out.
Wow.
So I guess I'll just go down the bullet points instead of having conversation naturally flow.
Organically running through them, then Dan, I assume, quietly crossing them off the list as they come up in your head.
I do. I put
And
little
coming
check
up
marks.
with the smoothest transition possible.
Yes.
In 3, 2.
Speaking of smooth transitions, I bet that his silk shirt would bother me
Oh yeah.
in terms of style
Yeah, what-
change between '99, which is when
Uh-huh.
the movie was released, or no, 2000. Sorry,
2000.
2000. Dan Linden nailed it.
Good job.
And now, and yes, the shirt I was thinking of is the one he wears when he goes to see Catherine Zeta-Jones,
Yep.
Charlie, and it's like a what'd you call it? Like a deep red
Yeah.
silk.
Like a burgundy almost.
burgundy
Yeah.
is a good word. That's the
Kind of
one
stripey.
that I remembered and didn't like the most. But it's almost every shirt he wears. I'm like bummed out by.
Was there was there a particular quality of that shirt though that was like etched into your brain that you were like, that's the shirt that bothers me?
I think it's like the silkness and the looseness of it that
You'd rather
And
be
look.
one or the other? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I get that style changes, but I don't like that shirt.
It looks a little pajama, like a pajama top.
That's a good point.
And also, all of his collars are too big.
Yeah, the
I mean,
collar's
that also
big.
was probably a
Yeah, there's something about
choice
silk
of the times.
Yeah.
that I don't like most of the time.
Is this your milk is for children for textiles?
He
I don't
hates
think
things
I
that
have
rhyme
that.
with
Silk
milk.
is for pajamas. This is the stand you're taking, right?
Well, since I know Molly loves underwear talk, I briefly wore
Brief.
silk underwear,
Nice.
and hated it.
Okay.
I never went back.
Okay.
So I don't recommend silk underwear, I guess.
Isn't that just what you give to each other in the 90s for like Valentine's Day? You get each other like silk boxers.
Oh, so it's like sort of a representation of the fantasy element you might have in your relationship.
So he's wearing a silk shirt because that's like his fantasy shirt?
Do you think that he has boxers that match that shirt?
Oh, yes. I hope so.
Whoa.
It's kind of like a lingerie set.
What if all of his underwear matches the shirt he's wearing in every scene?
That
I
would
feel
be
better
amazing.
at that point.
That's the
Really?
best part of this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. No, I feel better about the shirts if he's wearing matching underwear.
Great. I love it.
Well,
But
that's
all the
legit then.
shirts were bothersome for you, is what you're saying.
They were, but weren't they all like basically supposed to be things that he vintage, like he just thrift stored? Like his whole
Yeah.
thing is he's broke.
I wore some shirts like that when I was a teenager. So, yeah, those are vintage, I think, or at least faux vintage.
And I feel like that silk shirt is like straight out of like the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's only
Which
1
wasn't
year
that far away.
removed.
Yeah, and he's
Exactly. No,
supposed
that's
to be
what I'm
like in
saying.
his like late 20s, probably 30s, early
Oh.
30s, something like that. So like
I
that
don't
makes
know.
sense if he's wearing a bunch of 90s-ish, 90s heavy stuff.
Yeah. It makes sense.
These sort of
But they're still terrible.
they are
like,
a choice.
I mean,
like
and
they are.
I mean,
a choice.
to be fair
That
to
is certainly
him,
true.
I'm going to defend him
All right.
Ooh.
because everyone has terrible shirts on. At one point, what is oh my gosh, I'm so bad at remembering any details of movies, but what is the woman's name?
Which
The
one?
woman,
The woman.
Laura.
Laura?
The one that
Yeah.
he talks about constantly, and I says her name, I don't know, 700 times in the movie.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so Laura is wearing a shirt that is like, it looks like it's been dip dyed. It's like a cardigan that's been dip dyed and some like purple kind of dye. It goes, and then it like has a button at the top and it spreads out. It's terrible. It's, but it is that era for sure.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
is. I thought the most interesting style choice for Laura was her bangs. She has these awesome rocker, asymmetrical bangs.
She does have great bangs.
And I thought, what a great way to express that she's the cool girl, but it's still acceptable within a law firm.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is just like slightly stepping off of that topic, is there's a part where he gives some backstory about her and how they meet at a club. And she was already a lawyer then, but she worked for legal aid, so she was still going out and clubbing. And I want to be like, dude, working for legal aid is no walk in the park. Like, you're just as exhausted and as much a lawyer. You just don't get paid. I just thought that was a very funny, like, little detail of like, she was a lawyer but working for legal aid, and that's why she was out late clubbing. I thought it was funny.
I took it to more be like that's why she was still like cool and like wearing a leather jacket because she worked for like a cool. She did law coolly by being for legal aid.
He did mention the leather jacket.
Yeah.
He did mention the leather jacket. I guess so. I just thought that seemed like a screenwriter's quick embellishment to give some backstory.
Oh sure.
I don't know. If you meet somebody who works for legal aid, you know how hard they work and how exhausting it is, and they don't make any money.
Right.
So it's
That's
just
why you go
not.
to the club.
It's not like I'm going to
You
go
gotta
to
go
a club
to a
and
club.
spend $20 a drink. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
it's just those lifestyles are not necessarily compatible, but I can see where it'd be a quick screenwriter trick.
So you
I
think
don't
she
know.
shouldn't be going to a club?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it was just such a to me, it seemed like a really, in a script that was otherwise pretty good, to me, that was a way of getting some exposition out.
I see.
that just seemed really clumsy and not rooted in.
So what do
Like,
legal
even
aid
an
lawyers do for
imaginable-
fun then?
I'm sure they go out. You guys,
I
don't be
just
upset
want-
with me because I brought up Hot Topics.
We're not upset. We're
Yeah,
genuinely
no, I
seeking
am
clarification.
You might be, but other Dan is livid. He's livid. You can tell.
They're so mad.
I did outfits. I did appreciate outfits transition. I did really enjoy outfits through the ages,
Yes,
especially John
absolutely.
Cusack's hair.
Oh my God, his hair journey in this movie is fantastic.
Yeah, and glasses, hairs and
Yeah.
glasses. Really,
And then
good.
that just like complete like bandana wrapped on his head out of left field.
Yeah,
Chef's
Oh
kiss.
gosh, man! I had a high school boyfriend who did that.
yeah, leather
Or
jacket,
early
flannel around
90s.
the waist.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually thought that was good. I thought it was well done of like being a little silly, but also like, hey, we're in a different time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they had some fun with it. Hank
They had some
Cressler got
fun.
in there, opened
Yeah.
up his time chest of costumes.
his time chest.
Just turn the
I got
dial
a set
back
of
and
clothes
get
for every
come
year
on.
that I line up here, in case anybody needs to go back in time or I have to costume for a movie.
Hank, are you okay? You sound really sad. You sound like you're really like on the verge of tears.
I want to go back and be my father before he crashed into the manure pile. I think
Oh my
that's
God.
canon. Or maybe that's Joseph Prado. My best friend's dad.
Oh wow.
I do like that he owns a puppet and costume company, and his number one reason to have costumes was to in case someone needs to go back in time.
I mean, imagine like the day. Imagine how glorious that day would feel though if someone came in and just like, I found a time tunnel and I need to look period appropriate. Come with me. Yes, agreed. Good outfits throughout time. Good hairstyling and/or wig on John Cusack throughout the flashbacks.
oh yeah. Also, like in terms of styling being time appropriate, I laughed out loud when he said he read all the right books that he had read, Love
yeah.
in the Time of Cholera and The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
Yep.
Oh, I cracked up so hard because I definitely read both those books. And then really all of everything Milan Kundera wrote. And I was really...
Cool.
No. No, I was really adamant that was part of who I was as a person.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was great. So there were definitely some. I know when we came back into the second half, I sounded really down on the movie, and so I want to point out things that I really enjoyed
Sure.
before I go into the horrifying toxic masculinity and the way he treated Penny, which I will save.
Why?
I don't
say
know.
no.
It's not.
Why do you
Just no
keep teasing these things? And it's like,
We
we're
don't
just
have
here to
a-
talk, man.
This is our last
Okay.
episode.
We have to always have kind of a shamalam slam.
Yeah.
Where it turns like Molly, you think Molly likes the movie, and then boom, no, she hates it.
That never happens. If anything, the opposite happens.
5 stars.
Yeah.
So he's
Oh,
got
man.
these 5 girls from his past,
Top 5 breakups.
but we only see 4 because one is just in there
Out of
to
spite.
bump Laura out of place.
Yep.
Which I actually thought was a clever way for him to be spiteful and to reveal he actually did care
Yep.
early on. And one of them's name is Penny,
Oh,
and she is the nice girl from high school
Yep.
who he's always trying to get with because he's a horny teen.
Yep.
And then when
He's
she is not willing to be horned on, he dumps her,
Yeah.
and that's the story of that. Molly, take it
dumps
away.
her in the worst possible way. He's just like, what? Why bother? It never goes anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I was
So
realizing when I was
mean.
watching this how many times I've seen it because I was just like remembering like the hood flip physicality. John Cusack, newsflash alert. John Cusack's a good performer. He really brings
oh, sorry.
believable
Do-
stuff.
do-
Yeah. He really brings John Cusack energy to this
He does.
film.
Yes.
And he reacts badly to every single breakup.
Yes.
Like the very first breakup moment we see, he screams out the window, "If you really wanted to mess me up, you should have gotten to me when I was younger," as if this is the purpose of women doing anything in their lives, is to have that impact on him.
Yes.
And then when he goes through every single breakup, he is such a horrible human in that moment.
Yes.
And I don't mean it just gives like an unflinching look at the rawness. It is just, I think part of what shocks me a little bit is having not seen this since it first came out is all of that toxic stuff just washed over me. Like I didn't even think about it. I just thought it was kind of this interesting movie where this guy grows up a little and tries to figure out if he wants to commit to his relationship and commit to his life, right? But in rewatching it, so here's Penny. He goes out with her, dumps her, gets super mad and takes it personally that she has sex with somebody else on his like third date or whatever.
Yeah.
Then, okay, all of this is pretty forgivable. It's within the area of being like 16 years old. Sure, we're all terrible people at 16.
Good timing
all of us.
on the chemistry explosion and
Oh.
his weird
Timing.
16-year-old mop top hair.
Great
Yeah,
timing.
excellent. So excellent execution on all of this. But then he does this thing where he wants to go out with Penny and find out why she dumped him. Like why, and in his mind, why he keeps getting rejected. And she reveals to him that she did want to have sex someday, but not when she was 16. And that this other dude that she had dated that had been bragged to him about having sex with her had essentially raped her, that she had consented to it, but she had been worn down, and that she hated sex and did not have it until after college. And college is when she wanted to do that. That's when you do things. And instead of having any sort of human reaction to that, his whole thing is, oh, I'm off the hook. Like she didn't immediately have sex with somebody else. It's not me. And I know it is there to paint him as a picture of, I'm going to go ahead and put out there, deeply broken, like empty vessel as a human. But I was livid watching it this time. Like, what a freaking gift to give him this very clear, like, you not only messed me up by breaking up with me in this horrible way for this horrible reason, but it had repercussions through the next 10 years of my life. And he's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I don't know if you wrote that script now, if you would get away with that as a reaction to it. If you just be like, oh, yeah, that guy's still really immature. Or if you just be more livid and wanting to hang on that storyline a bit longer, because then we just never see Penny again, which is fair, I guess. But man, it just seemed like such a true to life kind of situation, and it pretty much turned me off from John Cusack's otherwise kind of adorable character. I used to love that guy. He was Lloyd Dobler, and I found it very disillusioning that he was just such a well, I'm just going to say D-bag.
Yeah, isn't that the point?
Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah,
But
but then at the end, like, I think you're supposed to be rooting for him, and are you not?
I don't
At the
know.
end, he's like, I'm gonna get together, or he's together with that other. Like, I am bummed out that they get together at the end. Like, I mean, to me, it seems like her dad dies, and she just is looking for something that she's familiar with, you
Yep.
know.
She
And
says
like,
that. I mean,
yeah.
that's literally what she says.
But I think it's a bummer that they're together. Like, I don't know. But at the end, I think you're supposed to feel like, oh, like this is going to work out for them. And he's changing his mind, and he's realizing he's going to be, or what he's been doing wrong, and he's going to try to be a better person.
Yes.
But that she doesn't, I don't know, like, why does she have to be involved in that?
She chooses to be?
Yeah, I know. It's a bummer.
and you just kind of hope that what she's basically saying is, I don't have energy to do anything else, so I'll hang out with you for a while.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
when I recuperate, I'm gone. Like that, I would feel honestly better about, because I do think they kind of dangle that sort of happy ending in front of you, which he is so unearned. Like, why is she bothering with him or Ian/Ray? Like,
I think that's the primary, for me anyway, the primary problem of this movie now is that the growth on John Cusack is so small. Like
Right.
the amount the needle moves from like selfish asshole to I figured myself out and now I'm a little bit better is
Yeah.
so small. He
Right.
goes from like no empathy towards anyone. Like every woman in his past is just a stepping stone to learn why he's alone now and has nothing to do with them. It has
Yeah.
everything to do with him. And he, as Molly, as you said, right, he has no reaction to any of the sort of negative things that he did to anybody in his past. And then, so that's where we're starting. And then where we end up is, oh, I'm tired, but I like you. And maybe I should figure out what my long-term girlfriend likes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. You should figure out what your partner likes and
So
do
high
those
five.
things.
Here's a sticker.
But like the space between those 2 points is small. And I think for 2000, maybe we get away from that by being smart and culturally accepting much lower standards of men, which is bad to accept such standards. But I think that's why it maybe succeeds in 2000 much more than 2021.
Yeah.
Sure.
21 years later.
I don't disagree, but I do think we are being asked to relate to him, to follow him, and to root for him.
Yeah.
And which I think is what Beth was just saying, and also Dan seemed to dispute that.
I just don't know if. I mean, I don't know if we're. I don't know. Like, I don't know if root is the right word for it. Like, we're just following this dude who's presented from the beginning as this, like, incredibly self-absorbed, narrow-banded guy. He's like a buffoon who's just, like, so in his own world. And then his self-awareness, I don't know, like, he's an unreliable narrator who, like, has moments of clarity. And I don't know. I appreciate the fact that this movie doesn't present any sort of anything resembling like just like a clean storybook relationship with anybody, right? Like, I don't know if I necessarily like the needle doesn't move very much, which is true, and like he's a shitty, he's a shitty dude, but there's like that's true to life, right? Like there's a lot of like shitty people in mediocre relationships. And, like, it's better if they're trying than not. So, like, there is
absolutely.
something to that, right?
But then, why have that be a story worth telling? You know,
I don't know, because it was 2000, like you said. Like,
yeah, maybe that's it. Like,
I wonder,
maybe,
like, I'm curious about, because I am thinking about, like, how just the year 2000 and, like,
Y2K.
Y2K, things were.
just destroying computers left and right.
Yep.
Robots were running through the streets.
But I was just thinking about the idea of somebody, like Molly was saying, like the last time she watched it, it just kind of washed over her. Like she was saying that like that didn't seem, the toxic masculinity part of it didn't really stand out necessarily. And so like I'm just thinking about maybe like men at that time watching that and being like, oh yeah, I wonder if like my girlfriend is actually a human who has interests that I should find out about.
Right.
Like if in a way at that point in time it actually was pointing in a forward direction and now we're looking back at
I
something
think
that was
that's
pointing
giving
in a
it
forward
too much
direction.
credit, too, though. I think that's giving it credit in the wrong way.
Okay.
Like, I just think it's like a specific look from a very particular lens of the realities of mediocre people. Like, if anything, it felt like it had high fidelity to real people, right? Like, most relationships are messy or are made up of mediocre people who fail at times, and maybe they shouldn't be together, and maybe they have broken up and gotten back together before, and you're not really sure if they're going to make it. So I don't know. I kind of appreciate the fact that like there is no clean story arc here, right?
I'll hear you on the complexity and messiness of their relationship. Also points to me, please don't forget, because I mentioned that Joan Cusack was either a friend or a sister who came in.
Good friends.
And who confronts him after she finds out the other side of the story.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
no,
record your
I
points in the ledger.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. Sure, totally. And I think there is something to that messiness. I also, I don't know. I saw, this is silly, but I saw this tweet that was like, everybody likes the show Ted Lasso because it's one of the few shows out right now where you're not asked to relate to someone who is selfish and flawed. And it resonated me in a way that I was very surprised. But in thinking about it, like, I feel like so much of our popular culture is about deeply flawed people,
Yes.
comedically flawed, but deeply flawed, often extremely selfish. And it is exhausting. And it's exhausting to always identify with those people. And it is a delight to just watch the people who aren't selfish. Not even that they're not messy or not great, but just not selfish. And this dude is so selfish and so gross for so long. And I feel like the vast majority of people who watched it were like, yep, there's some nice validation. Someday I'm going to invent 4chan and get together with friends. And we're going to rage about how women hide information from us and break up with us just to mess us up and have no authority or boundaries of their own for any reason. And like the person who's presented as respecting boundaries is also represented as liking world music and cooking poorly and being Tim Robbins.
Yeah, Timmy
who, by the way,
Robbs.
does a beautiful
Oh,
cameo.
incredible.
It's very good
Incredible
work.
Timmy Robbs.
My favorite moment of Tim Robbins, I want to speak to what you just said, Molly, but first I want to talk about my favorite Tim Robbins moment where he leans in with a big pot of like marinara or something and just says, I need a second. Just like his delivery of like holding a big pot of like tomato soup or whatever it is with a big wooden spoon. Just everything about it is perfect.
And it's like so casual, like just so like just sort of like languorously comes into the room, just like you could like that like he was at the stove and like tasted it and just very slowly was just like, I should ask Laura how this tastes, and just like slowly shuffled his way like he was Lana Cloud over to that other room where she was on the phone.
But even he's pretty selfish in that moment. Like she's having like an intense phone call, right? With her ex. And he's like, I need to ask her about this soup. Instead of like giving her space to work on this relationship. She
like this can wait. Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, he's still great.
Yeah.
But yeah, Molly, 4chan is another one of our hot topics that you wanted to establish. So it was good that you...
it was written on the list?
Got that in the conversation. But I... These are sort of like callbacks. It's like I'm doing a series of bits where I'm mad about the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
But I'm not actually mad. I just think it's funny to... So the repetition of it. It's like comedy. It's like a comedy.
Thank you for explaining comedy to me, Dan.
I connect also with the idea of like wondering about how many like red pill dudes connected with this. There's very much like a thread of what I was seeing as like a rules based view of relationships and like a formulaic way to think about it. He's talking about how Charlie didn't work out because he didn't punch his weight, and like there's a way that like people have to be matched up on hotness for it to work out,
Right.
and other things like that. And I can relate to that being a person with like a pretty analytical, quantitative brain. That is like a comfortable space to be in, and it's a thing that I have had to fight against to like succeed. No big deal in relationships. I have a wife. But like I see where that thread goes of like, if I could just crack the code,
Right.
I could do this. And I think it's where you get the fucking manual or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here's the checklist. Now women will sleep with you, which is a stand-in for actual emotional connection.
Right.
But he's also like, John Cusack is on the very slow other arc. He's moving towards emotional intelligence and away from this like super quantitative fact rules based knowledge. I don't know if he's going to make it there or if he's going to backslide when Laura eventually figures out, like, oh, you still suck.
You're right.
And then he'll, like, go back to his notebook and jot down the 10 things that didn't work.
Yeah.
And so that's
Top
the formula was wrong. Got to get back to it.
Right.
But yeah, I think, at least the arc we're presented with at the end is that he's on the path to better, but like I was saying, it's just so slight. Who knows if he's going to make it?
Right.
It's like on a paper raft. You hope it'll hold.
Yeah.
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 Speak more on 4chan, because I don't know if I quite know what you mean. Like, I understand, like, the foundation of that within these characters, but I don't know if as a unit they necessarily go that far. Because I feel like Dick and Barry are, like, much more innocently immature than Rob
But Dick
is.
and Anna have the best relationship. They actually have a romantic connection.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they're delightful.
And it's based, it's totally delightful. And you can see how jealous John Cusack's character is of them.
Mm-hmm.
And how simple it is. It's simple and sweet and reciprocal.
Right.
Which is really nice. So yeah, I would say the 4chan thing is just sort of shorthand for the whole toxic masculinity. Women are there for transactional purposes, how to extract sex, how to, get what you need and to be manipulative while doing it. And I don't think there's anything in most of the movie that runs counter to a lot of those kind of beliefs that maybe start out somewhat harmless, but can kind of end up in this kind of incel world. Because at their heart, they're still treating women like something that is a transaction or something to be dominated or taken, as opposed to, I don't know, just another human being to relate to on some sort of human level. And just, I think, especially starting out, and there's like this one line where he's like, "You fucking bitch, let's work this out," which is funny.
Yes.
But it's also like real spot on
Yeah.
in terms of, I hate you. Why won't you let me dominate you?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think there's a bunch of that in there, and it just sort of, to me, seems like, I guess the fact that I didn't notice it or react to it when I first saw this movie, I'd like to think means we've come a long way, but it also means there's just generations of people for whom this isn't even noteworthy. Like, they're definitely not struggling with it.
That's true of any film, though, right? I mean, that's like the same thing we've talked about with like Fight Club and these other movies where like people just like pull the wrong thing from these movies.
Oh yeah, and I like, if there were no real world harm, I wouldn't be so concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this also reminds me, there's a book called Girls and Sex that's come out, and in it, the basic piece about it is, the influence of porn and expectations of relationships, especially sexual relationships between young people. And one of the major things it talks about is just talk to your sons and daughters about reciprocality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where we're at now. It's not even about like, how do we both enjoy figuring this thing out together. Right now, a lot of what's happening with sex with teenagers is really just about like, can you give me a blowjob? That's it. It's very transactional and not about reciprocality, or about figuring something out together. It's about how much pleasure the guy can extract from the girl, in heteronormative relationships. Or heterosexual relationships. So yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, I get so riled up about it because I see for me, that's a very short trip between the art and the real world consequence.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me mad. Once again, new listeners, longtime listeners will know, Molly Chase often gets mad because eventually it occurs to her, as a 40-something-year-old woman.
Excuse me.
Sorry,
30.
35.
What are we doing?
that I just feel duped for most of my life by the gatekeepers. And I
Sure.
feel like it just continues to this day and is so frustrating.
I guess, do you not think the movie is saying he's a bad
A dummy.
dude? Like when he's screaming in the rain, "You bitch, let's work it out." Like I think the movie knows, like, this
Yeah,
dude's
He's an idiot.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's complicated because the movie is definitely saying he's a dummy
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
he is treating these women so poorly, and it's so clear.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he is the person that the movie's following and kind of like you want him to figure it out, I guess, and you want him to like have a happy, I mean, yeah, you want him, I didn't want to say happy ending after all this sex talk.
Nice.
So I think it's complicated in that way, but I do think that's why I feel like in 2000 it actually might have been kind of a progressive, like, yeah, look at how stupid this guy is, and he's treating these women so poorly, and he's wondering why he keeps on his relationships keep ending.
Right.
And it's like, oh, maybe it's because you are so selfish and self-centered that you haven't paid attention to any of these women and what they need and you're still not doing it. Like, even at the end, he's like, I'm going to make her a mixtape. Like, oh, very
Well,
good.
but that's supposed to be like a representative, of just like his entire, like the whole structure of the
Right,
movie
yeah.
is that's representative of just how he perceives the world. Like it's
Right.
supposed to be a sign of hope because he is trying to,
Yeah.
like this is, as he said before, like he and his friends have like so identified themselves with what they, what does he say? What they like rather than what they are like. So like
Yeah.
this is the language that he knows, right?
Right.
So like it is
Yeah.
supposed to strike a hopeful tone that he's like specifically trying, and he's so proud of his mixtapes that he's the fact that his intent is to create something that she would like rather than something that would impress her.
Yes.
Like that is supposed to be presented as like a hopeful thing. Like yes,
Right.
maybe it is a minor thing, but within the framing of his worldview, like that's all he knows. That's his language, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like I can see why, just knowing that there are definitely people who in 2000 watched this movie and they were like, that guy is so cool. Like he's really cool. I want to be more like him.
Even that, I don't know.
But I think
the world they inhabit is cool. I don't know if he's supposed to be cool.
Yeah.
I thought he was supposed to be cool.
I think because they even have that scene where they're like, why didn't you sell that record to that guy who came in? And they're like, because he's a dork or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And
But
you're
then
like,
Lewis immediately says, like, you guys are elitists. You guys are so
Lewis
ridiculous.
is the
rules.
number one character in
Yeah,
this
because he points out. I mean, he points out the artifice of it all, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I mean. Like I feel like the movie's self-aware enough to point out the artifice of their personalities so much that like I don't know if you're supposed to see him as cool. You're maybe supposed to like envy the world that he inhabits, right? Because like I certainly like had this nostalgic feeling watching of just like, oh yeah, it was fun to just like go to weird shitty bars and just like hang out with my dumb friends for no
Oh,
reason and
yeah.
like meet
I was-
musicians and shit.
I was really
Yeah.
missing going to like loud, shitty bars and drinking bad beer.
Shitty beer.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
year 2021 when you miss going to loud, shitty
The
bars.
shittiest place in the world.
I mean, it's a little bit like the pandemic, and like even if it was safe from a viral standpoint to do that,
Yeah.
I would never want to do that. I don't
No,
want to go
me
anywhere.
neither. But yeah, there
Like,
was
not
something.
be able to hear well.
Right. But yeah, there's something very nostalgic of just like, oh yeah, I didn't give a fuck and had nothing better to do.
Oh yeah, and I could sleep as long as I wanted in the morning.
Right.
Just to come back, though, I do think you're meant to sympathize with him, and you're supposed to see his flaws more as quirks than as like fatal flaws.
I mean, are they fatal flaws though?
I mean, not fatal, but you know what I'm saying? Like on the spectrum of like, isn't it so quirky how he can't figure this out to like something that's like a true fatal flaw, right? I see what you're saying, Dan. I totally hear you about how he's clearly a flawed character and the movie doesn't hide that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I'm adding to that is I can say very truthfully as a 2000 viewer in the theaters, I thought he was cool and meant to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was not questioning, oh, wow, he's treating all these women really badly at all.
Sure.
And all of that washed over me. I was basically just watching Lloyd Dobler as an adult try to figure his life out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I lean more towards Beth's interpretation than yours, even though I feel like I get it and I appreciate it.
What is Beth's interpretation in a thesis statement? Because maybe I don't know if we're even saying different things.
I think we are, though, because I feel like you're super defending the movie for presenting him and not like making him look romantic. And I think he does look romantic in this movie, at least to 2000 eyes.
I guess, but like I would argue that all this is doing is pointing out that Lloyd Dobler sucks too. right?
Oh,
like,
no.
like
Don't
Lloyd.
talk bad about Lloyd Toppler.
I saw that movie a couple years ago for the first time.
Does he say anything? Is that
Yeah.
He's saying anything.
He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
shitty dude too.
Yeah, probably.
He is like he's just like all up in her business and is
Well,
just like.
and now you know why 35-year-old Molly is
Yeah.
so mad.
But you're
Right?
but like yeah, but you're I guess I'm not I feel like I'm just trying I'm not necessarily defending the movie so much as like making sure that it's not like I mean it seems like we're talking more about like the culture that this movie existed in, right?
All right.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because like this came out around the time that I was in junior high. Okay, and
35.
But
We're all 35.
I'm
Let's be
thinking
clear.
about like the boys I had crushes on in around this time, and they were like truly so awful. Like they
Yes.
were just so mean to me and like would treat me like garbage, and I
Yes.
still had crushes on them because I didn't see the toxic masculinity of like what was happening.
Yeah.
I just was like boys. And so like it's interesting to like watch these movies from around that time because I'm like, oh, why didn't I get mad at my younger self? I'm like, why didn't you see like that boy sucked and that really nice boy over there liked you and you didn't say hi to him or whatever
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
women work.
But I
The
mean
nice
the
boy
movie
might have had some problems
but,
too.
like the movie
Let's be
even
honest.
touches the movie does touch on that concept a little bit though when he sort of realizes as an adult like oh Charlie sucks, like Charlie's so fake and her personality is like she's
Yeah.
not friendly to anybody, she's so self-interested, like why did I hold her up to this like high like put her on this pedestal when like she clearly is like not a good person and not someone I would want to be around. I just think I'm just trying to make sure that we're just I think Beth you hit on this earlier like I think as a culture we feel like we should be judging these flaws more harshly than we were back then. But I don't think that the movie was necessarily not trying to present these as things that should be judged,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the only person who's presented with like no, I don't know, like the only people that are presented as like having no real issues, even in terms of the main characters, like all the women he's with besides Charlie are basically presented as completely innocent. And Charlie's innocent. She's just like not the person that he held her up to be. But like Dick is the only one who's basically presented as just having like no real issues. Like he's a perfectly fine gentleman. And like you said, like he's the one with the most successful relationship at the end of the movie, right?
Yeah, I was actually just that's what I was going to say is I was like
Yeah.
that's why that relationship is so great in this movie and it's so like it's almost in the background. It's so subtle and but I don't know, for me at the end I was like, "Oh, like Dick and Anna are the best couple in this cuz they're like really they get along because they have something in common. He treats her nicely and he's like just very sweet to her, I guess." But it just is kind of in the background, which I it's just interesting because I think if this movie were made today, that might be brought a little bit more forward in the movie as a comparison to be like, look at how shitty this guy is and look at how great this guy is. And so it's like kind of, I wonder if it's because the year 2000, like that's why you kind of have to like this guy, even though, because that's how I think they're trying to get people to relate to him because they're like, hey, this is the culture you're in. You're in a shitty culture right now.
Well, and you are this guy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the relating to him is more about like, hey, you look in the mirror real quick and see how you're treating women.
Well, just
instead
even
of,
and like consider like your own like how you're building your own personality, right? And how you're
Right.
presenting
Yes.
yourself to the outward world.
yeah, yep,
I'm not sure. I will say this. I did appreciate / hate that they make Dick's character go through the toxic gauntlet. They have Jack Black's character just give him all kinds of hell for going on a date with Anna.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's actually really sweet how Dick just kind of like,
Doesn't give a shit.
yeah, doesn't care. You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
bother him. I thought that was actually a really nice illustration of Dick's character for sure.
Yeah. It is
I love those two.
They're
Yeah.
great.
Those
Jack
they're
Black.
so
Sarah
good.
Gilbert plays
Both
a
of
woman
them.
named Anna. It's very sweet.
Jack Black and that guy who plays Dick.
Louis Tony shit. I saw his
Tony.
name.
Louis something, I think.
Louis
I know that
something,
guy.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what else? Yeah.
They're both delightful,
stuff.
just like weird oddballs that work in his store with him
Yeah,
while
they knock
his
it out of the
story
park,
is
both of
happening.
them. Like opposites, but it's like I think they bring to life the like friend coworkers that are like, we get along, but like they have these intense personalities.
The bonded entirely over like these very specific shared interests. Like your personalities completely clash, but like you're the only other person who understands what the fuck I'm talking about. So I have to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually Dick is the only person that asks Rob, John Cusack's character, if he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes any kind of inquiry at all.
Yep.
He's
so
awkward.
He's such a sweetie.
It's so hard
He's
for him,
such a
but he does
sweetie.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so great.
He's a sweetheart. God
How
bless
about
him.
that movie? I would enjoy that movie.
It'd
I would
be
follow
so
him around.
boring though, Molly.
No, I think I'd like it. At this point, it'd be great. Maybe he could coach a soccer team or something.
Okay.
Just Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I think it's Ted Lasso. I'm pretty
That's
sure
a
it's
Ted Lasso
Lasso
reference. Yep. I also make callbacks, Dan. Women can also be good at comedy.
Whoa, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Shit.
Everyone's so mad at everyone.
Oh boy. I think if anything, we're mad at the year 2000. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm
true.
hearing.
Do you guys?
There's no five moon friend to me.
The year 2000 or me?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Oof.
No, year 2000. It was a terrible year.
That's the year I graduated high school. 'Cause I'm
No big deal.
35 years old.
35.
Wow.
I am not surprised that America fell in love with Jack Black after this movie.
Right.
He's a delightful performer.
Oh my God, just all over the place.
Yeah.
Just brings
Really
it
brings
to every little dumb thing.
I remember my friend giving me probably I downloaded over the network at college that first Tenacious D album.
Mm-hmm.
It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard as a 19-year-old.
Yep.
He's
That's
great.
the target demo.
Yep.
Nailed it.
He's got an amazing beard now.
He does have an amazing beard. He does weird videos for the hell of it in his backyard.
Yeah.
There's a video of Jack Black or a clip of Jack Black on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon where he plays like his kid's saxophone. I don't even know what the
Saxophone.
set. Oh, is that what it is?
The saxophone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently
I
he
don't even,
plays it at his live shows too.
I don't even know what the setup is, but the Roots start playing along with him,
Yep.
and it is the best thing I've ever. I've watched it like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I swear.
Apparently that's like a cool down at Tenacious D shows. Like
my
he does
God.
that at his live shows where he'll just be like he'll make one of the roadies bring him that stupid toy saxophone
It's so
from
good.
off stage.
And he just like he rocks it in the way that Jack Black does.
Yeah,
It's
Jack
so
Black,
good.
he just has maybe this is from training with Timmy Rob's like weird theater troupe or whatever, but like he is so good at just like moving his body in a very deliberate way,
Yes.
right? Like anytime he just chooses to make it like I don't know, like his like even I don't know, like just like yeah, he has such an intense version of space work that he does sometimes. Like he did
Well,
that.
everything's intense.
What?
Everything he does is intense.
Yeah, like he did that thing that was like very crude, but also very funny because it was like totally something that just like some weird 20-something at a record store do, where he's like pretending to like make out with a woman to like whatever song he's doing.
Gross.
And it
yeah.
was so like exquisitely done, like the physicality of it, because it was such a cartoonishly crude sequence of movements.
Yeah.
Oh, delightful.
What a delight.
What a
He's a
delight.
delight.
He
And
is a
he
del-
did the best 2 middle fingers I've ever seen. Or maybe it was just one.
Just one.
Where he like shot down his other fingers.
Yeah,
Oh,
he couldn't have two because the other one was holding the gun.
So, it was great.
I was remembering there was a time, maybe it was around the year 2000, where like fun ways to give people a middle finger was a whole thing.
It was
Oh
great.
yeah.
It was
Can I
great.
turn
That
this
was
up?
like half
Can you
of
hear
mine.
this?
That was half of my high school experience. Mostly
You just-
one guy. Like my
He was
one
the-
friend.
The giver or the
He
recipient?
was the giver. He was so like he embraced that trend and he was just like so
Yeah.
delighted to find new ways to give you the finger.
Yeah. funny.
And they were usually very charming. Like you just had to give it to him. Just like, yeah, that was pretty good.
Pretty good. Hey, you know what occurs to me is that Jack Black has sort of a parallel moment of finding love when that musician comes up, sees his flyer and comes
yeah.
up to him and they talk. He's like, "What instruments do you play?" Nothing.
That dude.
they-
Yeah.
It was so good, right?
Yes.
And it was like a match made in heaven. And
I love
they just
that dude
understood
so
each
much.
other.
Like the moment where they have this they have this incredibly low energy conversation where like neither of them like that felt also very real. Just like these two dudes who like neither of them wanted to admit how excited they were.
Both
then,
trying
like-
to live out their dreams.
Yeah, but then like the way the dude just like walks off and just like gives him the horns or the shaka, I think actually,
Yeah.
just for no reason. Like, and he doesn't even know if anyone's watching him leave the store. Oh, it's so good. It's
Miss Hardy knew.
some real good, just like random not tenants, patrons of that record store scattered throughout that movie. Lewis is the best because he calls them out on their shit, but he's also like friends with them, so he clearly is like not being mean about it. Like he's literally just telling them like, as your friend, you guys are full of shit, which I
Yeah.
appreciate.
There's I have an MVP in the store, which is when there's the scene when he goes like, I'm going to sell 5 copies of the 3 EPs by the Beta Band.
That was very funny.
That song got me to get that album however I got it.
There you go.
I won't say. But
Sorry,
there's
Beta
like, they
Bands.
put it on and then they pan around the store. There's this guy in like a full yellow ensemble, like just chewing gum. And he's like looking at stuff and he like leans over and looks at hopefully his friend and not just some rando behind
Right.
him. And it's like, yeah, he's like just really grooving and wearing all yellow. And I
Just
love him so
vibing.
much.
Vibing in all yellow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
That what a joy. What a joy to just spend a day playing Patron of Record Store #2 or whatever.
Oh, yeah. If we talk about joys in this movie, I don't want to leave out the conversations between Joan and John Cusack.
Yep.
I mean, Joan Cusack is a treasure. She's amazing and does beautiful work in everything she does.
She's great.
And the scenes where she's either neutral or mad at him are great, but there's a scene at the end where they're sitting across from each other at a diner. And she's basically like, you have to stop being insane around your ex.
Yeah.
Both because it's bad for you and bad for her, and because you're forcing her more together with this guy that I can't stand either.
Yep.
And I just
Yeah.
thought, like, how much fun for them to get to perform together and to play such interesting. I don't know. It just seemed like a really, like, I would have loved to have been on set that day kind of scene.
Yeah, I liked their relationship a lot. Where, like, I sort of implied that like she knows him through Laura. Like she only knows him because he was with Laura for a while. And I felt like they played that dynamic really well. Where like she does like they are friends, but like she's still more Laura's friend. So like she's compassionate with him, but is also like ready to step to, right, if she needs to.
Yeah, she's the classic.
played
I'm
it
not
so
taking any
well.
sides
Yeah.
yet.
Right. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
And
yeah,
she gives us our Bechdel Wallace pass, not
yeah.
by talking to Laura, but by talking to, I think, Laura's sister.
Yes.
At
Yep.
the, like,
Correct.
do you call that a reception after a funeral?
I don't remember.
It's definitely not an
I don't
after
think you
party.
call it a reception. No.
After funeral.
I think it's just a gathering.
Wake?
That's
Wake
before.
is
That's
before the
before.
funeral.
Oh, because they might wake
Sleep.
up.
Oh.
Right.
No.
Well,
Is that why they call it
called
that?
a wake?
Yeah,
Oh shit.
because they weren't
Do
sure
you
if
know
people
where the
were really
word
dead.
dead ringer comes from?
Ugh,
No.
what?
Is it the bell?
Yeah, they used to set up because they were not good at like actually hearing people's heart rates when they were just very low and not dead. And so
Yeah.
they would bury people and they would put a bell into their grave so if they woke up they could ring the bell. And so like if you had died and been buried and then came back up, you'd be like the dead ringer.
Oh,
Isn't that phrase used when like people are like resemble
look-
each other? Like that's
Yeah, so the idea is like you were alive and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you died
And
and then
now-
you see him again,
Right.
dead ringer.
No. It's a dead ringer for
Oh,
that
'cause
other
he's a dead
person.
ringer because he rang the dead ringer and now he's back.
Yes.
And now
I got
like you don't necessarily know if it's the same person. You're just like that person looks exactly like this person that I'm pretty sure is not here.
Yes.
I got it.
Yeah.
I felt
But I-
that's
yikes.
interesting.
But like dead ringer doesn't have to mean the person the person is dead.
No.
In modern context.
No,
like
not in modern context.
you can just
but
look
that's where
like
it comes
somebody.
From.
That's delightful.
We're better.
Wow.
at
Old
knowing
times
if
are
people
weird.
are dead.
Yeah, good job. Hey, quick shout out to the medical community for getting better
Absolutely.
at knowing when people are or aren't dead.
A low bar, but we passed it.
Like, hey, you know what? If there's anything we've learned tonight, it's that you have to at least acknowledge any forward progress, as small as it may be.
Yeah. I don't want to be buried alive. That sounds like a real
No,
bummer.
why would no one wants to be?
I was thinking about it though. Like,
But I got my playlist if I do.
Ooh, but if you're buried
Ay,
alive,
ay,
you get to
ay.
hear it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
pretty
friends.
nice. In your coma, in your coma brain.
We were so close to talking about the Bechdel-Wallace
Oh, sorry.
test and how this passed.
it was wonderful.
Because basically, Joan Cusack pointedly does
Like-
not talk about or to John Cusack in
The
this
sister
delightful
too.
scene.
Like
Yeah.
he says like, "Hey Joe," and she just walks past him and talks to Liz.
Yep.
So yeah, it was like I think Beth even pointed out it's like the most explicit Bechdel-Wallace test ever because they're like actively ignoring a man.
Well, and then she literally says, "We are not talking about you." That was my favorite part.
Yeah.
What a treasure.
But they kind of are, right?
I unclear.
Not
right?
at first. And
Right,
then,
not at first,
so
it's
it
like,
would
hey, how
pass
you holding
anyway.
up? Yeah. But,
Right, they would have passed even without her explicitly saying that.
And
Yeah.
But
then
she is
Liz
slyly-
makes a barb.
It's
Yeah.
a barb,
At
right?
him.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
It's a little barb. But then whether they continue to talk about is or is not clear. But it definitely was not for him to interject himself.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You just had to take it because he fucked up.
Yeah. It's got to just take it. Rob.
Rab.
Yeah,
Hide in the flower bed, Rab.
Rob.
Oh, I just thought of who my MVP was.
Okay, go.
My MVP is the woman he speaks to on the phone, and she's drinking some white wine.
Oh, yeah.
and she calls
Oh.
him Bob. She's like,
Oh, his
Mrs.
first
Ashmore.
girlfriend's
Yeah.
girlfriend's mother.
yeah, she like does not care about him.
No, but is also like surprisingly nice to him.
Yeah,
Considering the
she's like,
situation?
"Well, okay, whatever, bye." And then she drinks her wine.
Oh, I love the idea that like, yeah, I just love the like implication. There's so many implications there of just like, did Rob just like interrupt Mrs. Ashford? Is it Ashford? Ashwood? Ashland? Ashmore. Like, did he interrupt like Mrs. Ashmore's like evening wine time? Like where the phone rings, he's just like, oh, it's probably Darla or whatever. She's got to tell me about. And then it's some random man who said that she. Yeah.
Demands to be heard that he
Yes.
was her daughter's first boyfriend by a few days.
Which she says, no, sir. But in a very, honestly, surprisingly courteous manner. Like,
Yeah.
clearly
No,
she's unwound
floating-
from wine
she's
time.
floating through.
She's
It
just
doesn't
floating.
seem in the middle of anything.
Nope.
It's really
Just wine time. It's
Goals,
mom's wine
yeah.
time, you know?
Mom's wine time.
wine time.
Mom's
Yeah.
wine time.
Mom's wine time. Yeah, she was great. Although Rob's mom was also a good MVP. Like, I appreciated that that also felt very real, where she was like more emotionally invested than he was prepared for in that phone call that he had with her. Like, that felt very true to life, of just sort of like, why are you so, like, why are you so upset right now? Like, why is this suddenly this kind of conversation? I thought she was great in her one scene. Good job,
Agreed.
Rob's mom.
Rob's
Oh,
awesome.
so good. Yeah, all the moms. Let's just
All
go
the
ahead and say
moms.
it. All the
Hey.
moms were great.
All the moms.
Shout out
Yes,
to
all
all the
moms.
moms out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moms? You're
At
doing
least
it.
in this movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, let's be generous here. Like, shout out to the moms in this movie and all the moms that everyone's comfortable shouting out.
Sure.
Other moms, maybe wait a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What?
I'm just saying I support
We just
moms.
don't know all the moms.
I'm just trying to lend nuance to this world because, as we've seen in this movie, everyone is a flawed, broken individual who
That's
have
fair.
complicated relationships all around.
Yeah.
So
that's
maybe somebody doesn't want to shout out their mom or any
I
moms.
just- I'm just saying I support women, is all. That's all
Okay,
I'm going to say.
well, that's great. Good for you. I'm glad that you were able to admit that because it's so hard for you to say that sort of thing out loud. You see what I did? You see what I did?
Hoisted on my own, Captain Picard.
Ooh, I like
Ooh,
that.
I like that's a good
that
one.
term.
I would watch Patrick Stewart in this movie.
He would have
Not
crushed
watching
it
anything.
as Ray.
As
oh my
what
God.
part? Oh,
Oh,
yes.
Pick apart, but yeah, he would have crushed his Ray. I mean,
Yeah.
Tim Robbins crushed, but
Tim Robbins did crush. I really did
Also
enjoy Tim
crushed.
Robbins. He did this incredible finger pyramid at one point that was
Oh,
like
so
so
good.
condescending.
I love that conflict resolution was his
Oh
job.
my God. What does that even mean?
it's like a mediator, right?
Like, does he even mean that truly, though? That's my
we
question.
don't know.
Like,
we don't know. He could be a yoga instructor.
All we know about him is that he does karate, that he has a sick ponytail.
And he's got 2 rings.
Yeah. And several earrings.
Mm-hmm.
Dude had a lot
Your
of.
cuff.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to our final ratings of the movie that we watched, High Fidelity, that we've been talking about the whole time, we
Did you forget which movie we were watching?
sometimes we like to read a maximum star review of our podcast, totesregal.com, from Apple Podcasts or somewhere else. If you tell us about it, we'll read it. But we don't have any. Oh, we do that in the impression of a character from this movie.
Yeah.
We could have done it as Tim Robbins.
Could've done
Oh,
it as
Joan Cusack.
John Q
Joan
or
Cusack.
Cusack. Still unclear on that.
Hank Cresthorn came up, so
Yep.
he's on the table.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we won't do that. So leave a review, please,
Please.
and thank you.
Please.
And thank you.
But we also do open it up to Discord questions,
Oh,
which
yeah.
you can become a Discord user at patreon.com/totesregal.com. And we
close enough.
got a couple here. Carzon asked, is Zoe Kravitz better in the role than John Cusack? Well, I don't know.
I
My
haven't
wife
seen
said that the TV show follows a very similar story arc in terms of like how she interacts. You know, she's like sort of reflecting on her past relationships, and she's got an annoying coworker, and they like meet some hot teens that she ends up working with musically. And she said, but she also said that it didn't end quite the same way because it seemed like maybe they were expecting there to be another season. So it doesn't quite conclude. But she said she liked it. So I assume the answer is at least as good, if not perhaps better, Molly. Maybe you should check that out.
Maybe I will check that out. And I realized we went this whole time. It didn't bring up Lisa Bonet and
Oh,
how
yeah. She was
gorgeous her
fucking
character was.
cool as shit in this
Yeah.
movie.
So cool and self-possessed, and she knew what was up with this guy.
She was very cool.
Yeah. And I was
She
very
was
right.
legit cool.
Okay, counter
saying?
opinion.
A Peter Frampton song, and she was in The Cosby Show.
All true.
So-
These
That
are all
is
true.
true. That is
What's
true.
up, Beth?
You
Her
hate her.
hat was very upsetting to me.
Dude,
And
that's
I did not
all of
find
their
it cool.
clothes were upsetting to you. I'm not talking about her fucking clothes. I don't give a shit about clothes. She was cool.
She as
Yeah.
a person was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, she did have the confidence to wear that hat.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Right.
So,
And to hang up all those old windows.
and Zoe Kravitz is her daughter.
Yep.
What?
Yes.
Crazy fun
Oh, I didn't
fact.
know
Wait.
that.
You didn't
Yeah.
know that?
No.
Yes. Oh.
I don't
Wait.
know who everybody's daughter is.
So are
I
we
just support moms.
Are we So are we supposed to believe that the High Fidelity TV show is supposed to be like a vicious cycle repeating itself?
I don't think
Wait,
so.
is she Rob's?
Rap's
Daughter?
daughter?
No way, man.
We don't
She's
know.
way too
We don't know.
gorgeous to be.
We don't know.
Sorry.
How dare
We
you?
don't know. Wait, was Molly just disparaging John Cusack's looks?
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
actually, I
just
was thinking his
saying.
eyes are too far apart. That's what I was
Wow, you guys are
Just
so fucking
unfair, but-
shallow.
that's what I was thinking.
Hashtag
That's
only
fair.
Dan appreciates people for what they bring to the table other than their clothes and eyes.
All right, we'll get 0 tweets from that. I can guarantee.
Oh, I never got a chance to tell you my Wikipedia fact.
Oh,
It's on the Wikipedia.
in the show, and she got really mad in
It's
Act
a
2
movie.
and checked
Yeah,
out
it's
the
on
movie.
Wikipedia. It's on
And so she looked at
Wikipedia.
wikipedia.com.org, I mean, of course.
Good job.
Thank you.
quick reminder:
Oh,
someone
no.
needs to give us $3, or else we will not know if we should only or never do this segment, and also if Beth should do it or not do it instead, and also if Dan should do it or not do it.
Thank you.
Yep, that
Excellent.
makes sense.
Yep.
Absolutely. So,
And now Beth has pressed stop on the pre-recorded theme song. Please.
so fun facts. This was, as also Dan mentioned, based on a book that was published in 1995. It
I've
was
read it.
originally given to a screenwriter to turn into a screenplay. And then the director, or whoever had the rights to the story, was talking to the producer of Grosse Point Blank, who said, "Oh, this material seems it's right up John Cusack's alley. He's got the right sensibility for it." And he and these other two producers worked together, the three of them. And so that is who is credited on the screenplay with an additional mention of the original screenplay writer. But the three of them came as a package deal in creating the film, which I thought was very interesting. I just sort of, you sort of think that someone just hired John Cusack, but he actually helped write the screenplay and helped produce it, made it come to fruition. You're welcome. That concludes Wikipedia Facts.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun podcast. Oh.
Carzon also asked, how agonizing is the main character's behavior now versus when you first saw it?
Well,
I don't think we need to go
rewind.
into that.
Listen to most of the podcast.
We've been over that.
Great question, though.
Yeah. ST Giwala asks, what's with the blatant Liz Fair erasure?
Oh.
I don't
I don't know what they're talking about,
I don't either.
but
I'm intrigued.
Is that not
I
in
guess that wasn't
Wikipedia?
on Wikipedia. So that's a little teaser to
Yeah.
our listeners to go figure that out. That's the Totes Recall Challenge. What's up with the Liz Fair erasure?
Yeah. What is up with that?
Yeah.
Was she supposed to be in the movie?
I don't know.
Is it just that she would definitely belong in here in terms of timing and just isn't? I feel like there's more to it.
I don't know. What if she was in the movie and then got cut out?
Oh, boy. Is everybody looking this up right now?
Not
Yeah.
me.
Not me.
Not me.
Liz Fair almost played Lisa Bonet's role.
Oh.
Okay.
So I don't know what's up with that, but quick internet search reveals there's like 9 think pieces on it. So
Well, how
Sorry.
close was she to playing it?
do you mean to read this?
Read all 9. Beth, press pause on the recording.
Okay.
We'll press pause.
Paused.
Dan will read the 9 articles, and then we'll come back and talk about what we've learned. This is Totes Recall Postscript.
Steve Pink wanted that character to be mystifying.
Okay, cool. We learned something.
We learned something.
This was
Sounds like something
postscript.
worth reading. That might be a bummer.
ST Gawala asks, or states, Tim Robbins' hair game is on point.
Yes.
Agreed.
Correct.
100%.
Yep.
We've already talked about
Utah.
Utah.
Yes.
100% Utah.
So if you want us to struggle to answer your questions like we did, well, that
Hey,
leaves the
hold
law.
on. We crushed answering one of Carzon's questions.
That's true. That's
We
right.
really did.
We
That's
basically,
We
like,
picked it apart.
we did a
and
whole
went in
TED
depth.
Talk on one of Carzon's questions.
Yeah.
And by TED Talk, I mean 4 people
I
having a
was going to
discussion.
say,
Yep.
yeah.
4-way Ted Lasso. Right, Molly? You love
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
TedLasso.com. Check it out.
That's our sponsor?
I don't
Nope.
know.
So, yeah, get on that Patreon, as the slogan goes.
Oh, get on that Patreon. Totes Recall. No, Patreon.com/Totes Recall.
Patreon, you can sponsor us. We
Ooh,
will
yeah.
flesh out that.
Wouldn't
jingle.
that be a tidy little turnaround?
Right?
Yeah.
Give us
How
your
about
money.
you? Yeah, Patreon. Don't just make it possible for other people. Maybe put some skin in the
Yeah.
game. Do you believe in artists? Do you really?
Hey, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how
Hey,
about you waive
If
your
they
fees?
really believe, they should be a patron of everybody on there.
They should be a patron of every Patreon account.
They should be like the Tom of Patreon,
Yep.
right? Tom? What was he like?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
He's trying to
trying to
do
do Tom.
Tom.
Oh, I never was on MySpace, so I don't know.
You both aced it. Everybody's doing great.
For the record, for the audio listeners, Beth and Dan apparently both aced whatever it was they were doing visually.
Yeah, MySpace from Tom.
A turn
No,
and a
Tom
thumbs
from
up.
MySpace. Yeah.
He's the original, like,
Yeah, no, we know. I mean, I know.
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
Music platform, Arctic Monkeys. Okay.
What the fuck is happening?
What was happening? Did you just have a seizure?
No, okay. Well, if you're going to ask, MySpace separated itself from the other social networks by being a particularly good place for artists, musicians to have essentially cheap web pages for themselves, and
I
you can
remember
really
that part.
customize the shit about your MySpace. And Arctic Monkeys was maybe the first huge success that got launched from MySpace. They got like discovered on there and then turned into a giant band.
So MySpace is like the Rob coming out of his record store to talk to skate teens.
Yeah. Yeah, we were
Yes.
talking about skate. Ugh.
Oh,
Okay,
Justin
you
and
guys, I just want
Vince.
to point out that we wanted to be done recording by midnight.
Cut it all out.
And it's officially midnight, and
All
we're
right,
talking
fine,
about
fine,
MySpace.
Fine. Beth, leave this all in.
Okay, Dan, the rating
Yep.
scale, as we all remember,
Of course.
was angsty Q sacks, which are sacks
Yep.
that are angsty that contain the letter Q, a friendly letter Q from in the style of Sesame Street.
I mean, I pictured it like multiple
Multiple.
letter Qs.
Multiple.
Well, it's a sack. It can hold as many Qs as you want, maybe.
Fair.
Well, as many Qs as can fit in one sack.
Okay.
Maybe it's like a Mary Poppins situation.
Ooh, I love that. Molly, you're ruling?
Really?
Absolutely. It's 12:01. Let's go.
Okay. Dan, you gave it 4 sacks,
Yep.
and you thought it'd maybe be good. My notes are bad. Wait. But maybe it's representative of assholes.
I do think it's representative of assholes, but I do think it was still pretty good. So I'm going to stick with my original rating, 4 Cusacks.
Wow.
Nice.
Beth, you everything we had talked about sounded enjoyable to you, so you also said a 4.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna drop mine down to a 3. I thought it was still pretty entertaining. But I did not love parts of it, especially the part at the restaurant with Penny. That really upset me. But other than that, I thought that it was pretty entertaining. So it's fine. Whatever. Nah.
That's your rating? Meh.
Nah.
I gave it 2 sacks. Thinking
Joan Cusack.
Oh.
We know why he gave it 2 sacks.
Yeah, we do.
Why?
Don't
'Cause
make
the 2
us
balls?
explain it.
How many
Still
sacks do you?
one sack.
Hold on. Yeah, there's only one sack. There's one sack for 2 balls. Is there a confusion here? Is there like a.
What do women not know? How
Do
many
women not know?
sacks?
I guess we don't know about
I
that.
guess we don't know.
Men don't know about cotton underwear. We don't know how many sacks there are.
Yep.
Well, you could imagine a situation where you had a sack to hold each one, but I guess it makes sense that one holds 2.
I mean, that would require like a very specific set of circumstances.
Wow.
It would be great to have a backup sack.
I mean, that's true. No question. But
Backup sack. Wow.
Okay.
Where?
it is 12:03.
All right. I didn't even introduce this. I gave it 2. I was not worried. I thought I would not have the patience for this angsty 20-year-old relitigating his past because I didn't have any patience for where I was in the year 2000. I think it's still somewhat true. I appreciate that this movie exists. I appreciate how much I liked it when I was 20 years old or whatever. And I'm glad it existed. I think it did, to Beth's point about maybe this is what we needed in 2000. I did think it helped me as a film and a emotionally stifled youth. Certainly, I wouldn't have made as many mixed CDs for my now wife. No big deal. Had I not watched this movie, but I
What?
still,
This could have altered the future.
yeah.
Wow.
But I still kind of hated it a little bit because of how little he grows. So I'm gonna go up. But not much. 2.2. is my rating.
2.2?
What?
What does a fifth of a sack even look like?
Well, I'll leave that up to the listener.
How many Qs can you even put in a fifth of a sack?
Just that little like
Yeah.
Which
Little
part?
line.
kickstand.
This is an audio medium?
Yeah, the kickstand. Great
Yeah.
Ah,
description.
Nice.
Yep.
Unless this is a lowercase q.
Oh boy.
I mean, it's
Well,
still
Then
kind
like
of a
fit the whole
kickstand.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you probably could.
You gave it a 4. You were hopeful that it would be good, but you also were wondering if you really thought they should get back together at the end.
Oh boy. I was so naive a couple hours ago or however long ago it was.
2 days.
2 days ago. Yeah, I am so bummed out how much this movie bummed me out. And also it contains so many cool things, including we didn't even get to mentioning Lily Allen is in it.
Oh,
Lisa
yeah. She's
Bonet
great.
is great. Joan Cusack, like there are all these really wonderful performances. I thought I would enjoy the scenes inside the store more. Whew, that Penny situation really, it really stuck in my craw. Continues to, and I want to like it. I want to give it a 4, but at this moment I'll have to give it I'll give it 2 plus a half for Joan Cusack.
All right.
So half a Cusack can fit a Joan Cusack.
I
Is
mean,
that what we're saying?
Ooh.
just in honor of.
I see.
It's
So
the
it's-
most adorable sack.
It's like got her name like embroidered on it or something.
Sure, yeah. It just says Joan.
Joan.
Nice.
It's very cute. It's very cute. I hope you have the imagination to know how cute these angsty Cusacks are.
I do now.
Excellent.
Now that you've painted such a beautiful picture.
I'm thinking, I don't know if my read on this is right or wrong, but I feel like maybe this movie was more important to Molly and I as youths, and it is thus more disappointed us
Yes.
in the 20 years.
Yeah.
Beth, obviously you haven't seen it, but Dan, you didn't talk as fondly as maybe we did.
Uh-huh.
And it's just interesting that maybe it fell from a higher place it was in. But yeah, I think I'm going to put this away. I did check to see if I still had the digital video disc, and I did not.
Ooh.
But
Interesting.
I would be curious to go watch like Grosse Pointe Blank or other John Cusack movies.
Yeah.
I mean, in that
Let's
one,
see.
like he's supposed to actually be a bad person, right? Like he's a murderer.
He's an assassin.
He's an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
I actually
No,
remember him
assassins
being
are
more
bad.
likable in that movie.
I
Yeah.
think he is. I think
I
he's
mean, isn't that
more...
kind
Yeah.
of the point?
Okay,
Yeah.
can we watch Grosse Pointe Blank in a year?
Yes.
Sure.
Great.
You heard it here first.
March 2022.
Or
If-
sooner if it's some listener's appreciation vote.
Oh yeah,
And-
get it in. Homeward Bound.
Yep. That's what we've been talking about this whole time. John Cusack is so charming in Homeward Bound. And Joan Cusack is also charming as the bear.
Yep,
So we should watch it so Molly can enjoy Joan Cusack as the bear.
as the bear in Homeward Bound, the movie
Mm-hmm.
that we all agreed we wish we would watch.
Yep, that we all would love to watch 100 times.
Totes Recall is hosted by Molly Chase, Beth Gibbs, Dan Jaquette, and Dan Linden. Produced by Beth Gibbs. New episodes of Totes Recall drop on the 15th of every month. For more information and bonus content, visit us at totesrecall.com. Thank you so much for listening.